Hello everyone and welcome back to IndyCar coverage live on RaceSpotTV after taking a couple of weeks off during the holiday period to re-rack and regroup for some new things in 2021. The one thing that we know, IndyCar, Iowa, it's going to be one interesting race. Hello and then welcome back to RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, along for the ride once again as we get ready to look at the end of a very interesting schedule so far. We've missed a couple of weeks, Long Beach through Mount Panorama, as well as Homestead, unfortunately, but we rejoin our coverage here tonight with round number 8 at the Iowa Speedway itself, and 4 more races after tonight before we crown a champion. And it's a very interesting fight at the top of our championship, because you'll see Adam Blocker, well, he is in the championship lead, but this is a bit misleading because he's completed one more race weekend than Brandon Traino, and Blocker this week is missing today's race. He's testing with the IndyCar paddock at the Sebring circuit. Brandon Traino has the opportunity to retake the championship lead. Take a look at the battle for third as well. Brendan Lichtenberg has a fight on his hand from Chris Wilhite, and that will be a battle that we want to keep our eyes on in today's race. Number of other names as well, like some Andrew Marquez in 5th. Good to see him there. Hugo Olsen competed for our iRacing IndyCar Series Championship last year, but unfortunately not able to repeat the same type of performance. 2 minutes then left in qualifying so far, and well, I mentioned one of the new things that RaceSpotTV has been working on. We've got a brand new graphics package for you, and take a look at the left-hand side of the screen, because qualifying well and truly underway. Most of your drivers have already set lap times, and as Brendan Lichtenberg comes around to complete one of his 2 qualifying attempts in the number 7 machine, we've got a nice strong field, upwards of 20 cars in today's action as Lichtenberg's going to complete his qualifying run. Third position for the Team I5G driver. 3 I5G representatives in the top 3 as things stand. You've got Henry Bennett in his British Racing Green Dallara IR18 in 4th position so far, but still a couple of minutes still to go in qualifying. And like I said, we missed a couple of weeks of action here in the iRacing IndyCar Open Series. And let's take a look once again at that schedule, because Mount Panorama, one of my personal favorite racetracks on the iRacing service, and I had the opportunity to take the car out a couple of times last week and put some laps in with our Powerslide Motorsport setup, and I've got to be honest, might have needed to change my pants after that practice run. Worldwide Technology Raceway, Gateway, I really love these short ovals, and you know, that's always a kind of representative race. All of the short ovals now on the single plane aero configuration, which means less downforce, and that will be something that plays out tonight at Iowa, as well as round number 10, Richmond Raceway. 40 seconds left on qualifying though. 2 more road races still to go, Watkins Glen and Sebring. And of course, in our championship picture, you have to take into account that we have seen stronger fields on the ovals for the most part, and that's meant that the oval races have become a little bit more important and helped Traino build up a little bit of a buffer over Blocker in the championship fight. Watch for the strength of fields in Watkins Glen and Sebring. That might help to bring Blocker back into that championship picture. 10 seconds left in qualifying though, a couple of minutes away from getting to the green flag. Let's get ready to take a look at our starting grid for round number 8, the iRacing IndyCar Open Series. So on the pole position, Christopher Demera in the number 1 machine for Broken Arrow with the Team I5G and the Apex Racing team. He's got his teammate Brandon Traino next to him, just over 100th of a second separating first and second. Brendan Lichtenberg makes it 3 Team I5G drivers in the top 3. Henry Bennett will line up then in 4th position for Powerslide Motorsports, with Chris Wilhite looking to try and make an impact on the championship standings, back in 5th with Matt Pavelski completing row number 3. Trevor Greenfield lines up in 7th with Aaron Roofs in 8th. Adrian Pinorino in the number 4 machine back in 9th. Christian Macarelli on the edge of the top 10. Vilda Wallen back in 11th position with Rob Unglenix on the edge of row number 6 as we cycle our way through a very strong field today. Jason Wallet in 13th with Shane Burke in 14th. Nicholas Sudik in the number 9 machine will line up in 15th with Nate Burke on his outside. Andrew Marquez looking strong in practice, but will line up back in 17th, as will Matt Holliber, another car looking strong in practice. Last 4 cars, Victor M. Santos, Laura Gerhard, and then 2 cars that didn't set qualifying lap times, Arturo Amor and Lance Simon in the number 21 machine. So 22 cars in today's grid, and that's a nice healthy number here at not Gateway rather, I was getting confused. We are at Iowa, and we are very excited about being back here. The last time RaceSpot and IndyCars came here was for the IndyCar iRacing Series race, but that was under the night lights, and that was a much different type of a race than I expect that we're going to see today. Take a look at our weather here, because you'll see it's relatively warm for Iowa standards, I would think, at least by the Indy cars when they race under night. 23 degrees is your air temperature, with 32 degrees being your track temperature. Partly cloudy with 56 degrees humidity, and then a strong gusting wind that blows across the track as the cars roll up onto the track, and we get ready for 150 laps here at the Iowa Speedway. Delighted that you can join us once again here on RaceSpotTV for continued coverage of the IndyCar iRacing Open Championship, as we look to see if, for the first time in many, many years, someone can dethrone not only Adam Blocker, but Power Slide Motorsports. The Team i5G crew have made a very strong impression of the championship so far. Top 3 locking out in qualifying. What can they do then in the race? Henry Bennett will line up on the outside of row number 2. Watch out for Chris Wilhite as well. Will line up on the inside of row number 3. So we get an additional pace lap here, and this is known as the world's fastest short track, known due to the unparalleled speeds that IndyCar drivers reach while competing here. So it is one of the favorite destinations for open wheel and stock car drivers alike. You know, in practice laps by IndyCar, sometimes they reach in excess of 185 miles an hour around here, which is absolutely insane. 7/8 of a mile in terms of your track length, and variable banking with progressive banking on the turns from 12 degrees all the way up to 14, so watch for that high line to really roll the momentum out of the corner. Leo Guggenheim has popped into our YouTube chat. We're hoping to not have too many booms here today with the new damage model, but it's Christopher Demerit, Brandon Trano. They'll be on row number 1 as we get ready to go racing here at the Iowa Speedway. Demerit punches the throttle. Let's get underway then here at the Iowa Speedway, round 8 in the IndyCar iRacing Open Series. Henry Bennett tries to get to work on Lichtenberg, but he's in an i5G sandwich is out front. Brandon Trano, second in the championship, first in today's race as we complete the first of 150 laps here at Iowa. They've already single-filed it out, and we have our first caution. That's a very early one. Looks like Shane Burke and Adrian Pinarino, the 2 cars that have been involved there. Big damage there for Shane Burke, and already under caution for the first time today. Wind the clock back, take a look at our first RaceSpotTV replay of today's action. To see Shane Burke up on the outside, and he just has nowhere to go as it all unfolds in front of him. We'll jump back onto his onboard and take a look at that incident one more time as the number 14 machine comes across the start-finish line. He sees 2 wide in front of him, and look at the aggressive dive down to the inside. That might cause a bit of a checkup, and actually is a little further back is the big incident. That's Pinarino, I believe, in the 4 car that's also involved, and unfortunately there, looks like Shane Burke out of the action in today's race. Cycle it back one more time and see if we can pick this up with Adrian Pinarino and exactly what happened here. So side by side, you'll see the aggressive chop down to the inside, and it just looks like from behind, a little bit too much speed carried into the corner and contact made. Cars coming down onto pit road. Very interesting. After just 1 lap under green flag running, you'll see Aaron Roofs, the first car down onto pit lane. Christian Macarelli missing a portion of his front wing right behind him. And as Leo Guggenheim does say, that might be the Leo Guggenheim curse. There's already then under caution here at Iowa. We're not expecting the type of delays that we had back here in 2019 when IndyCar ran here. Of course, that race started 4 hours late due to weather and thunderstorms, and ended up starting after midnight, finishing at 2:15 in the morning. A red flag also happened because there was a brief thunderstorm and rain shower, so don't expect that type of a delay here today. But Joseph Newgarden took the win there. He's won 3 times at this track. And as the IndyCar paddock groups up for another season of exciting racing action, they are in action today at the Sebring circuit for testing. I do believe they're sharing the track with the IMSA paddock. So a little bit of, I'm sure, interesting stories being swapped across the wall, as it were. Of course, who can forget Oliver Askew, who was running in the Daytona 24. I believe won as well. Very impressive showing from the young man. Then has the pleasure of testing James Hinchcliffe's IndyCar, because Hinch, unfortunately, unable to make it to the track. So, I'm sure Oliver Askew would have wanted to get back into the IndyCar in a slightly different type of a fashion, but nevertheless, don't think he's going to complain too much then. So Brandon Traino leads us under caution. Demerit down to second, Lichtenberg in third, Bennett in fourth, Pavelski up into 5th, and then Chris Wilhite down into 6th. Lots of oval action here on the iRacing side of things of RaceSpotTV today. We've got here today the IndyCar iRacing Open Series, and then later tonight we kick off a brand new season of the SimSeats Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series with their exhibition clash race, where 60 drivers are going to duke it out around the iRacing Super Speedway. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think that might have a few less cautions somehow than we're in for tonight at Iowa. Take a look on the left-hand side of your screen, our brand new graphics. Well, thanks to the hard work of ATVO, we can show you the positions gained and lost. Matt Holliber is up 5 positions after not coming... he did come down the pit lane, rather. He spent the least time in there, so he's managed to jump up a few. But you see the likes of Victor Santos up 7. Couple of swaps in the top 6 as well. Robin Glennick's up a very impressive 4 spots to get up into 8th. Working the edge of the top 10, top 5 there for Glennick's. Top 10 in the standings, so it's been a strong, consistent run for the number 15 machine so far this season as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. See what he can do. Taking a look through the timing screen as well. We had 22 cars take to the green flag. Unfortunately, Shane Burke out of today's race. I think we had a pit starter as well. Arturo Amro in the number 19 started on pit lane. So he's down 1 lap to the rest of your field, but 20 cars still on the lead lap then as we work lap 7 out of 150. Speaking of the error screen, of course, it did get a big test when the Indy cars came here for that doubleheader weekend, but let's get ready to go back to green flag racing then. Brandon Traino picks up the throttle, single file we go across the start-finish line, and already looks like Henry Bennett has lost out on this start. Look at Matt Pavelski and Chris Wilhite, who both are now trying to get up onto the back of that British Racing Green Dallara IR18. I do love it with the red wheels and the British Racing Green. Green flag waves then, lap 7. Is complete as we complete lap 8 now across the stripe. Single file once again, though, for the most part, to go all the way back to the drivers that made pit stops. Victor Santos down the inside into 10th position as look at Matt Hollibo at the front of an angry train of cars. Andrew Marquez for Loose Nut Racing down on the inside with Nicholas Sudik and Christian Maccarelli. That's side by side as we come across the start-finish line. Maccarelli for North Sim Racing loses out and down in towards 15th position. Back up front, Henry Bennett, he's closed up on the top 3. Oh, look at that. Brendan Lichtenberg gets very loose as we come across the start-finish line. Henry Bennett down to the inside, and he's going to get the position done, I think. Lichtenberg tries to hold on, almost gets run up into the wall, hangs on with that momentum, but can Bennett hold on down the inside? Through 3 and 4 we go. Lichtenberg going to hold the position, and Bennett slots back into line. Side by side further back, Robin Glennick and Vilda Wallen are having a bit of fun for 8th and 9th as Wallen tries to pressure Glenix into a mistake. They've now fallen 8/10 off the back of Trevor Greenfield. He's doing a good job to hold on to the top 6 in front of him. Chris Wilhite then, competing for third in your championship, peeks to the inside of Matt Pavelski. Not able to make that work just yet, but in towards 3 and 4. There he goes. Gets his nose chopped off as in front of him. Henry Bennett tries to work on Brendan Lichtenberg as well. Let's jump on board with Chris Wilhite then as we work through turns 1 and 2. As the Ohio native tries to close on the back of your top 5 contenders. Bennett in front looks for a bit of clean air on the high line. You'll see Wilhite not yet able to really find another groove to try and find a way to build up that momentum and find his way around Matt Pavelski. Pavelski starting to struggle though as he sticks in that dirty air of Bennett, who looks the low line coming through turns 3 and 4. Pavelski all the way up to the high line, and just as I speak of Pavelski struggling, it's Bennett down to the inside as Pavelski swoops around the outside, and Pavelski makes it I5G 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here comes Chris Wilhite as well. Take a look at the onboard as he gets the move done around the outside, and Henry Bennett drops all the way now to 6th position. And I5G 1, 2, 3, 4. Chris Wilhite, their next competition right now. So exciting stuff out front as Chris Wilhite gets to work on Matt Pavelski once again. Bennett looks to have dropped off in terms of car setup. The I5G crew looking very comfortable. Trevor Greenfield now looks very, very happy at the prospect of Henry Bennett in front of him. Let's check on back with Robin Glenix as he's just gone and passed by Vilde Wallen. In fact, they're still side by side. We work our way down into turn 3 and Glenix holds on, but great action here at Iowa. Check in with that group of cars that's pitted. Here's Matt Hollibaugh and Andrew Mucka still side by side. I'm pretty sure the last time we checked in on the two of these guys, they were doing the very same thing, but they're putting on a show for 11th and 12th position right now. You take a look at them streaming themselves single file once again. Nicholas Sudik at the tail end of the field in that pink and purple machine. Looks like the booms have dissipated for now, and I don't think Leo Guggenheim can curse us too much. They've single filed themselves out up and down the field. And let's turn our attention back to Chris Wilhite, who's really putting the pressure on Pavelski. Let's jump on board with Pavelski through the rearward shot as Wilhite looks to the inside, but you'll see Wilhite has to tuck back into line, looks for a bit of clean air, and in fact he goes very, very high all the way to that second dotted white line, and he'll try and build up momentum once again. Wilhite once again peeks his nose to the inside of the corner, unable to find enough clean air to really make it work at this point in time. These guys now 2.5 seconds back from your race leader. Wilhite peeks his nose once again. Pavelski comfortable on that second line. Of course, this is an open setup series, and the drivers have the in-car tools and adjustments to work with as well. Pavelski is very content on that high line, but losing more and more time to the cars in front. 0.8 of a second between third and fourth now as they work through 1 and 2. Lap 24 out of 150. And of course your leaders have not come down the pit lane after an early caution on lap 1. Victor Santos and Robin Glenix side by side, and Glenix starting to struggle midway through the run. Santos tries to take advantage. That 10 machine looking very composed in the neon green. He'll run his momentum out of 2 down in towards 3, and I think Glenix will have to concede. Here comes the slide job, a bit of a squeeze, and Santos has to tuck his way back down to the inside. And my oh my, great stuff here from the Iowa Speedway. Santos able to get the move done, does have to go defensive once again, but as they go through 3 and 4, comfortable, and Santos up into 9th position, and Glenix shuffled down into 10th. Glenix is not going to give this one up easy though. They're very much fighting it out. And in Glenix, with that 14 degrees of banking on that high line, will be able to roll a bit more momentum through the corner, more squeeze being applied from Santos as he'll chop off the nose and finally be able to run the line that he wants down through turns 1 and 2. Let's go back in the pack. It's always nice being able to see some of these battles. There's not Scott Dixon. That's Nate Burke, I do believe, in the PNC Bank sponsored machine. Applying a lot of pressure to Jason Wallet as Laura Gerhard in what I know is a Starbucks sponsored machine behind them as well tries to close on up. Lap 30 out of 150. The leader's still not really into the lap traffic just yet, but as I say that, Brandon Traino about to put a lap down on Adrian Pinarino, and he's 2 seconds away from this battle between Nate Burke and Jason Wallet, so traffic gonna start being a factor shortly. As let's take a look back out front at Chris Wilhite and Matt Pavelski, as they managed to close the gap up on Brendan Lichtenberg. Not sure if Lichtenberg starts to struggle a little bit more at this point of the run. Wilhite looks to the inside on Pavelski once again. They were closing in on half a second away from the number 7 machine. The scrapping might not be ideal for their race prospects, but nevertheless, through 3 and 4 once again as we jump on board with Chris Wilhite. Take a look at the alternate lines and take a look at the traffic out front as well. Lichtenberg getting held up behind, not sure exactly who that is. Might be Arturo Amro in the number 19, who now goes high, lets the two i5G teammates down to the inside. Wilhite rolls his momentum, able to get on through down in towards turn number 3, but he loses a couple of tenths to Pavelski for a moment. But they've closed on up on Brendan Lichtenberg, and they've got more lap traffic in front of him. Adrian Pinarino, as Robin Glenix has lost another position. There's Andrew Marquez in the Loose Nut Racing machine, up into 11th with Matt Hollabaugh in front of him as they work through some of that lap traffic. I believe that might be Aaron Roos on the outside, as here comes Christian Macarelli to the inside. He uses that traffic as a pick, and I think unfortunately for Glenix, that car is starting to drop away from him as the tires burn off and as we enter potentially a pit window here. The leaders have done 37 laps as Chris Wilhite has actually made his way up into that 4th spot. He's used the traffic very effectively as well. Take a look at that RaceSpotTV replay as Wilhite. Oh, Pavelski actually up into the wall. Let's jump on board with Matt Pavelski, who might now have a little bit of damage that he's got to nurse for the rest of the race. Tucked up behind the number 4 machine, diving his way down into the corner. Has a lot of dirty air from his teammate, and there you can see contact made with the wall, and Pavelski now down and has dropped behind Henry Bennett. He's coming down onto pit road, so Matt Pavelski might be out of this race. So one of the i5G drivers experiencing a little bit of turmoil, but they still run 1, 2, 3. Chris Wilhite then, Brendan Lichtenberg 3rd and 4th in the championship, and guess what? 3rd and 4th on the track as well. After that early caution, we're really starting to fly our way through this race. I'm loving this action. Last time the IndyCar came here in the real world, we of course had that doubleheader weekend. Races consisting of 250 laps, and who can forget Connor Daly putting it on pole for race 1. Unfortunately, his second lap not as good. That dropped him down the order for race 2, but nevertheless, an impressive showing for Connor Daly, who didn't necessarily enjoy the best time in terms of competition on the iRacing service, but I know for a fact that he enjoyed himself from an entertainment perspective very much so. Lichtenberg now has Wilhite all over him. Must be filling those rear view mirrors as they seem to have stuck themselves behind some more lap traffic. I believe that's Laura Gerhard in front of them as they cross the start-finish stripe, and indeed that is the number 18 machine. That 43 out of 150 we work. More lap traffic to the outside. Jump on board with Chris Wilhite. Gap between the two cars, 0.2 of a second. As you can see, all of that lap traffic has now stacked these two cars up. About 3 seconds behind your race leader. They've lost out a lot as they dive their way through. You can see Jason Wallet has to defend from Nate Burke in the PNC Bank sponsored machine, as the two lead lap cars down to the inside trying to get past that battle for 14th and 15th on track. Wilhite really closes up. He's trying to use this to his advantage. Lichtenberg loses momentum. Wilhite to the outside through 3 and 4. He's going to use the draft from the car in front. potentially use that high line to get the move done. Lichtenberg's going to get past one down on the inside. Oh, 3 wide for a moment. Oh, Lichtenberg was very scared for a moment. You saw the weave and the jink from the number 7 machine. He'll clear both of those lapped cars. What can Wilhite do? As he crosses the start-finish line, 1 down. As he's side by side with Nate Burke. And he'll finally get the move done down into turn 3 potentially. In fact, he's lost out even more time. Gap between the two cars for 3rd and 4th, 0.6 of a second. Wilhite finally gets the move done. Big loss then for that car as Nate Burke tries to take advantage, squeezes Jason Wallet for a moment. Here comes Laura Gerhard as well to the inside. Intense stuff here at Iowa. It really is great to see. Henry Bennett in the 5th position tries to make his way past as well. Might be a bit of team orders here. Gerhard looks to leave a bit of clean air for Henry Bennett. But they've spaced themselves out a little bit more now as they work their way through lap traffic. So let's pick up a battle for 8th position on back. This is where we find some of those cars that dived their way down onto the pit lane last time around. Matt Hollabo has to defend from Andrew Marquez, 2 cars that did take tires. In front of them, though, Victor Santos, 8th position. Santos, who's had good runs so far. You take a look on the left-hand side of your screen. He's up 11 positions so far as Andrew Marquez down to the inside. But Matt Hollabo runs all the way up against the wall. Carries his momentum, keeps the position. One little curious fact about this track is that, of course, it's now owned by the NASCAR sanctioning body, and as you see, Vilda Wallen and Trevor Greenfield, has been a swap for position there through traffic. But when the NASCAR series that run at this track come here, they use a track length of 0.875 miles, or 1.408 kilometers. Now, when the IndyCars come here, though, they like to be a little bit different. That is 0.894 miles, so an increase of, well, 0.19. Just a little bit different, I thought, and an interesting fact. It's obviously great that NASCAR owns so many of the tracks that it gets to race at, and maybe one day, of course, IndyCar now, of course, owns the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and maybe more tracks down the line. Maybe we'll see more IndyCar racing in the real world go to the ovals if we get more track ownership by IndyCar. That seems like a very exciting proposition. We're working lap 56 out of 150 here. 1/3 done with our race, and we expect the pit stop cycle very soon because Robin Glennox has been shuffled all the way down to 14th place now. In fact, he's going to lose one more spot to Laura Gerhard in a few moments' time as we continue watching Matt Hollabo trying to close on up on Victor Santos. Matt Pavelski still in pit lane, unfortunately, so Team I5G, 1, 2, 3. Chris Wilhite in 4th, and then Henry Bennett for Powerslide Motorsports in 5th, with Vilda Wallen a very impressive 6th for 3 Crowns Racing, closing up on Henry Bennett in the 3 machine. Here comes Matt Hollabo, though, on the back of Victor Santos. Gonna poke his nose to the inside. The car in front of him feeds him some dirty air, and Santos will roll the outside line to hold on to 8th position, but fresher tires from behind. Slightly fresher tires, given that we had 1 lap completed. Here comes Brandon Traino behind as well. These cars in danger of going a lap down. As we jump on board with your race leader as he works his way past 1. Now tries to find his way past Andrew Marquez. Very easily done for the Team I5G driver that also makes setups for Apex Racing Academy. We've got the setup maker, the dock maker for Apex Racing Academy, also for Pure Driving School, and of course Joshua Chin for the Craig Setup Shop, as well as the likes of Liam Quinn for Majors Garage and Christian Steele for Team I5G. We've got a number of teams that I've been trying to grow this series as Brandon Traino down to the inside. Apologies there as I just got a bit distracted by the fact that I lost connection to my TeamSpeak server. Fortunately, we're not, no co-commentators, but in the meantime, Trevor Greenfield down onto pit lane, and he's the first blinker. And he was starting to fall down the order, so is this going to open the floodgates as Brendan Lichtenberg has closed up on Christopher Demerit for second position through the traffic. Chris Wilhite down on pit lane as well, so there we go. There have been a few takers down onto lane. And of course, pit entry is actually more difficult than you'd expect here, because single plane aero, in terms of your front wing, can be a bit more difficult to get that slowed down. So we wait for your top 3 contenders to come down pit lane. They lead Henry Bennett by 7 seconds. He's 12 seconds behind Brandon Traynor right now. So if he doesn't get a caution, it's very much looking like the top 3 drivers will be the only ones not going 1 lap down. Nicholas Sudik down onto pit lane this time around, and the number 9 machine is behind Victor Santos. Robin Glennox goes a further lap down. Andrew Marquez makes his way down the inside. So Sudik is down on the pit lane, and of course the danger here is that you lose a couple of laps when you come down the pit lane. So drivers try and extend their stints as long as possible, as Glennox is going to lose another lap to, that's Christian Maccarelli. That's the top 10 now working their way around in Glennox. As now Victor Santos has Andrew Marquez, who's finally gotten past Jason Wallet, who will now try and close on him. Matt Hollabaugh up into the wall. Hollabaugh was up into the wall for a few moments' time. Santos down the inside has taken advantage. And we may just have escaped a caution, lap 69 in this race. And Hollabaugh coming down to pit lane this time around. Let's take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay and jump on board with the number 6 car. Throws it down into the inside, really flings it, hopes it's going to stick, and oh, that indeed is contact with the wall. So Hollabaugh down onto pit lane. Back to live pictures though. Lichtenberg, 0.4 of a second separates him and his teammate, Christopher Demerit. As Hollabaugh into his box, he'll have to take some damage repairs from that, you'd expect. The new damage model might be a little bit more lenient, though, in this case. We'll wait and see. Brandon Traynor, the race leader, is down onto pit lane. Teammates, though, out in front are extending the stint one more lap as Traynor works his way all the way down into his pit box. We're almost halfway through this race, so they are potentially going to need a splash and dash to get it to the end of the race. Traynor on pit lane, he's followed down by Henry Bennett in the number 3 machine. Up on the jacks. Lichtenberg is down this time around. Demerit has managed to save an additional lap of fuel to Brendan Lichtenberg. So he may be able, if he gets out in some traffic, able to save some fuel early in his stint, he may be able to take this all the way to the end of the race. Brandon Traynor rolls his way out of pit lane and back up to racing speed. Diamonds his way out of turn 4 across the start-finish line. His teammate Lichtenberg is just up on his jacks at this point in time. Lichtenberg finally rolls out of his pit box and starts to work his way back up to racing speed. Where is he going to come out in comparison to some of this lap traffic? You can see there's one machine. There's Matt Hollabaugh as well working around the outside. So Lichtenberg is fed right into traffic as Demerit down onto pit lane. This time around, has he missed the commitment cone? Oh, that was a very close call for the number 1 machine. On board, look. Oh, and we've got a caution. We've got a caution. Perfect timing if you're Christopher Demerit. But Brendan Lichtenberg has crashed. So that's why Demerit, with that late commitment down onto the pit road. Take a look at this. Lichtenberg tries to get his tires up to temperature and pressure down to the inside. And oh, let's take a look at that from maybe a slightly wider angle, because it's hard to tell exactly what happens in this situation. Second caution of the day. Looks like it's Andrew Marquez slow in front. Matt Hollabaugh, slight contact between Marquez and the number 6 machine. And I think that means day done for Brendan Lichtenberg. Jump on board with Hollabaugh as he tries to make his way around the outside, and you see that slight contact. the slightest of touches as we'll spin it back one more time and take a look at this aerial look brought to us by graphical partners of RaceSpotTV, ATVO. As in fact, that was not Andrew Marquez. Apologies for my misidentification. So we'll spin it back one more time and try and take a look at this. Apologies once again, that was not Andrew Marquez. Looks like the other car. All I know is I'm not sure how that car is still going, so that's why I'm quite confused up here in the commentary booth all by myself. But let's jump back to live pictures and unfold the race situation. There you can see, left-hand side of your screen, 5 cars still on the lead lap. Everyone from Trevor Greenfield on back, at least 1 lap down. That's what we were talking about with green flag pit stops. And Christian Macarelli seems to have been the biggest winner, now up into the 2nd position. Insane. Laura Gerhard as well. Started all the way back. One of the last cars to set a lap time. Now up into 4th position on the lead lap and staring down a top 5 finish. So absolutely incredible stuff. You are seeing a number of cars down on the pit road. Andrew Marquez is down. 8 seconds stationary for him. 15 for Lance Simon. Arturo Amros, 24 seconds stationary though. Maybe a sign that that might have been the 19 car involved in that incident. But nevertheless. Halfway through this race then, and just as we were looking like it was stringing itself out, single file. Laura Gerhard down onto pit lane, followed by the PNC Bank sponsored number 20 machine for Nate Burke. So Gerhard will drop to the tail end of the lead lap and might even drop behind some of your laps contenders. And Leo Guggenheim, of course, in our YouTube chat wanted booms. I don't think he necessarily was expecting those type of booms, but nevertheless, let's take one more look at this incident. Because I'm still a little bit confused at who that car is. Obviously not someone that has been up at the front too much, as you see the damage to Brendan Lichtenberg. The new damage model really takes no prisoners. Slow this one down. I don't know if Lichtenberg will appreciate this too much, but the iRacing staff have done a lot of hard work to get this new damage model looking so good. Might as well show off the fruits of their labor. I can look at this chat indeed, Anderson Gutierrez, and when it's all just one person by myself, I tend to do that a bit more than I should. So hello to the YouTube chat. I am paying attention, but big booms, as Leo Guggenheim likes to say, sometimes distract me. So a couple cars back down onto pit lane. Christian Macarelli, one of them. So he'll drop to the tail end of the lead lap as well. In fact, oh, Laura Gerhard has dropped 1 lap down, I'm seeing on my timing screen. As we work our way through this caution period, are we going to get a couple of cars stacking themselves up? So we're going back to green flag racing, it looks like, and there's still some confusion for what's about to happen. Pace car down onto the lane. Green flag back up into the air. Nate Burke is restarting in 3rd position. Christopher Demerit, rather, has 2 seconds, 3 seconds over Christian Macarelli in 2nd, and Brandon Traino finds himself now in the 3rd position. He's got Henry Bennett in front of him, 1 lap down, so big shakeups then. A little bit hard to really unfold the race situation because we're all mixed up, all tangled with one another. Here comes Henry Bennett to get a position on Trevor Greenfield. So that is a lapped car in front of them of Robin Glennox. Bennett's going to dive down to the inside in his British Racing Green machine as they try and close on Laura Gerhard for a top 5 finish. Brandon Traino, though, wants to try and get by as we jump on board with 2nd place in the championship, 3rd place in this race. To the inside of Trevor Greenfield he's going to go. Gets one position there. Henry Bennett trying to scamper away in front of Traino. I'm sure Traino doesn't necessarily appreciate dirty air. More dirty air being thrown in front of him from Christian Maccarelli, but this is a fight for position. Maccarelli gets a bit scared there, concedes second, so Traino back up onto that second step of the podium. As we get underway once more. Vilde Wallin, Trevor Greenfield, battle for 7th. As Henry Bennett has now run away to the tune of 1.5 seconds in front of them. Wallin, Greenfield, Santos, and Hollabo all stacked up here as Chris Wilhite in 4th position now tries to get up past some of these contenders. Santos tries to use this as an opportunity as well, and we jump on board with the number 10 car who runs the outside line, has to check the momentum up as Greenfield gets stacked up. Down to the inside, Wilhite surely does not appreciate this in front of him, but Santos is going to slide his way up, I think. Still side-by-side contact made. Greenfield up into the wall. Are we going to stay under green flag conditions? No, we're not. Yellow flag back out. 3rd time today. And we have Trevor Greenfield now up into the wall and out of today's race. So we spool this one back, and again, lap traffic the story here. As you see, Santos gets a great run out of turn 4. Throws it down to the inside. Wilhite has to stay patient behind. They got close coming out of turn 2. And you see there just contact between the two of them. Let's jump on board and take a look at this from Chris Wilhite's perspective and see how close the Ohio native got to his potential podium finish coming unstuck. He's staying very close to that inside. Greenfield turns down. Santos slightly up the track, and Wilhite not in too much danger, fortunately. Brandon Traino down on pit lane this time around. So Traino has realized he can't make it to the end and realized that this is a good opportunity then to come down and get his tank topped off. You'll see behind him as well, Wilhite has elected to stick it out. Demerit did make this race a bit more interesting because he obviously pitted late, and now out front he's going to have a nice buffer to the rest of his competitors. There's Demerit leading the field. There's Traino though out of his pit box, 8.3 seconds stationary. So I think it's fair to assume that Traino has taken tires. But we are back under caution for the 3rd time today. Looks like a couple more cars may be coming down to pit lane. Henry Bennett, one of those cars. Andrew Marquez for Loose Nut Racing as well. So all of the cars one lap down now have an opportunity. Victor Santos stays out. Notable car there. Vilde Wallin as well as Laura Gerhard, the other cars that stay out. So left-hand side of your screen, let's take a look at the running order once more as they work their way down onto pit lane in the case of those cars one lap down. And we wait for them to pull out. There's Matt Hollabo. Comes out right behind Robin Glennox. But you'll see there, we've now only got 4 cars on your lead lap and a number of lapped cars in between various contenders. So Christopher Demerit in the 1 machine. Very, very comfortable. Matt Pavelski jumps into our YouTube chat. I am now 3 out of 4 for hitting the wall in these races. Don't worry, I think I would hit the wall a little bit more frequently if I was out there driving. Christian Maccarelli down onto pit lane though from 2nd. So an interesting call in the number 13 crew. I think Pavelski just got cursed by Leo in our YouTube chat. That's at least what I'm going to claim, as Maccarelli into his pit box. Up on the jacks. Fresh set of rubber. full tank of fuel, you'd have to assume, and he gets ready to head back out onto track. Pit exit might be closed. That's why we're seeing him slow down. So, while the lights are still on the pace car, let's very quickly run you through the race results as they stand right now. 91 laps into our 150 lap affair. It's Demerit, Macarelli, Traino, and Wilhite on the lead lap. Laura Gerhard, Phil de Wallen, Victor Santos have all stayed out this time around, but Henry Bennett, Matt Hollabo, and a couple of other cars who are 2 laps down have all come down the pit lane. You'll see our fastest lap was set quite a while ago. Let's take a look at our weather conditions as well. You'll see fairly constant. The wind has dropped very slightly, but for the most part, as Barney the Flagman stays very stationary up there in the booth right now. And we get ready for more racing action. So 4 and a bit seconds separate Christopher Demerit and Brandon Traino. Chris Wilhite finds himself half a second behind Brandon Traino, the 2-time Indy 500 race winner on the iRacing service. So the pace car down onto pit lane once again, leaves the field in control of Christopher Demerit. He punches the throttle and we go back to green flag racing. Brandon Traino already contends with some of that lap traffic. Chris Wilhite behind tries to follow around the outside. Able to get the move done, both of them. Nate Burke looks very, very feisty as he tries to get some position as well. 3 wide. Henry Bennett splits it down the middle as well. Contenders with tires trying to make up positions. Henry Bennett up into 8th position then, past Andrew Marquez and Matt Hollabo. As Nicholas Sudik is in a good battle with Jason Wallet as well. Sudik around the outside gets the move done on the number 17 machine. They're 2 laps down though. Andrew Marquez, the only car they're scrapping it out with. Attention back to that battle on the 1 lap down step of the timing sheet. You've got Laura Gerhard in the Starbucks powered machine. Phil de Wallen in the 11 car right behind with Victor Santos. 0.3 of a second behind. They do have the race contenders coming up behind them. Brandon Traino as he tries to close the 2-second deficit to your race leader. Christopher Demerit really making very, very good use of the clean air out front as we approach the conclusion of the second third of this race. It is going to start flying by if we get another green flag run, you have to assume, as already the gap between first and second down to just 1.7 seconds now. Trainer looks to get the move done on Victor Santos, tucks back into the drop, but there you can see intervals across the top 4. Macarelli has dropped off from your podium positions. Chris Wilhite right on the rear wing of Brandon Traino, down to the inside once again. As Traino gets the move done on Santos, Wilhite will try and follow through. As now Traino stares down the rear wing of Laura Gerhard and Victor Vilde-Wallen in front. Wallen gets a little bit squeezed to the outside there as Traino down to the inside. Oh, gets very close as he tries to maximize the corner. Then gets fed some dirty air by Gerhard. He washes up slightly, able to control his momentum. And he's managed to clear Chris Wilhite by about 0.7 of a second now as Wilhite gets stacked up behind Vilde-Wallen as well. Here comes Henry Bennett, who's of course not fighting with Chris Wilhite. He is fighting the other cars in this picture though, so how patient is Henry Bennett going to be as Chris Wilhite still stuck behind Victor Santos, finally able to clear Santos there. And here comes Henry Bennett to the inside, tries to take advantage of the situation. Fresher tires on the number 3 machine as he works the inside line, able to roll that inside very effectively so far. As Basic Planet points out, a Starbucks powered machine is a very eco-friendly machine. As Santos able to hold off the challenge from Henry Bennett. Gap out front, 1.5 second. Demerit able to hold on for the time being as Traino is clear of the lap traffic and has put some separation between Wilhite and himself. on board with Henry Bennett once again as he tries to set to work on Santos and use the advantage of the fresh rubber underneath him. He works all the way to the yellow line, has to shift down into fourth. And Santos does a good job of holding on. Will Hite in front, finally able to get past Laura Gerhard, so Will Hite finds himself with a 1.7 second deficit to overcome to Treno in front of him. Now Vilde Wallen will try and get back to work. There's Bennett using the outside momentum though. Does the over-under on Victor Santos, makes it look very easy indeed, and he slots himself up into 7th. Challenge comes back from Santos, but I think tucks back out of that one for the time being. So the leaders work lap 108. Cars on screen work lap 107 because they are 1 lap down. The Vilde Wallen closes on Laura Gerhard as Henry Bennett tries to make some hay. It is fun, these short ovals. The less downforce that you can run, the more alternate lines that really can be taken by various drivers. And we are seeing, at least from a setup perspective, it does look like there's a bit of variation amongst some of our major teams. Of course, Adam Blocker is missing in action, if you will, for today's event, so I'm sure Powerslide maybe didn't spend as much time in preparation, whereas for the Team i5G crew, this is a great opportunity with Blocker's absence to make some valuable championship points and build up a bit of a buffer. Henry Bennett closes in on Vilde Wallen, then 0.2 of a second separates 6th and 7th. As we take a look off the rear of Vilde Wallen in the Three Crowns Racing Machine. Great to see this increased contingent of Swedes coming into virtual IndyCar racing on the iRacing service because, of course, who can forget Hugo Olsen, who won the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race, not for Three Crowns Racing, of course, but for Powerslide Motorsports. But of course, Olsen still works closely on occasion with the likes of Wallen, and Wallen now able to hold off Olsen's new teammate and Henry Bennett right behind. Gap out front starts to come down as Brandon Treno sets to work. Lap traffic in front going to pose a little bit of a factor, but half a second between the first and second place cars on track, and also the first and second place cars in terms of I-rating in this race session as well. Lap 114 done, so this is lap 115 out of 150. And we are not expecting pit stops for the end of the race. They are running some slightly different lines at this point in time. Talking to some of the real-life drivers during the IndyCar iRacing Challenge, where, of course, we saw a number of real-life drivers come onto the iRacing service and really duke it out with a bit of lighthearted entertainment in certain cases, but I believe Tony Kanaan, this might be one of his favorite short tracks, and was very disappointed to miss out on Richmond last year, but I know Iowa was a very fun race weekend for him. I believe he was competing for a podium at one point as well in race number 2. But here comes Vilde Wallen trying to compete for a top 5 position. That Starbucks-powered machine may be losing a bit of its strength. Decaf coffee powering it at this point in time as the yellow and blue car swarms all over the rear end as here comes Henry Bennett as well, and we jump on board with the dock maker for Pure Driving School. Started up in the order. 1 lap down as his teammate tries to fend off Wallen around the outside. Very impressive run there from Wallen. Gets the move done up into 5th. And I wonder if Bennett's going to make this move look very easy indeed. Down into 3. Gerhard looks to be out of the throttle already. Bennett's going to slide up the track, and indeed, a bit of team orders it would appear going on there as Vilde Wallen's going to try and put some clean air between him and Henry Bennett. So 30 laps to go then, as Leo tries to curse a few of these cars in our YouTube chat. Just a reminder, if you're not already following us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, you know, the whole shebang, you can go ahead and do that at RaceSpotTV. If you are also not in our Discord server, we are trying to be more active in there. Bit of reorganization going on as well. Stay in touch with us. Share some screenshots with us as well. Maybe get featured on the next episode of Talking Tents, a RaceSpotTV podcast. But battle for the race lead has extended itself out to 1 second once again. You can see the gap to Macarelli, who's actually in danger of going 1 lap down. Not in too much danger of losing out to the likes of Wallen, Bennett, and the rest of the cars 1 lap down. He still enjoys a 10-second advantage on the rest of the field. But as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, when 3-4 cars are in contention for staying on the lead lap, it tells you a bit of a story about the race. Take a look on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see the positions gained by various drivers, because it's been a very impressive run from the likes of Gerhard and Santos and even Matt Holloway. They're almost all up double digits positions, and in the case of Laura Gerhard, who started, I believe, last of the cars to have set a qualifying time, that caution where Brendan Lichtenberg unfortunately spun it due to that contact being made has really benefited the number 18 machine. So out of 3 and 4. Christopher Demerit out front. Now 0.4 of a second separates him and his teammate. For the first time, Demerit might have a teammate in his rearview mirror. Or in his side view mirrors, as it were in this case. Let's jump on board with Brandon Traino. Down into 4th gear as he tries to get all the way down to the yellow line. As they close on the back of, I believe that is Victor Santos, who's doing a good job of holding up Christopher Demerit and bringing in Brandon Traino into the equation. Gap 0.3 of a second now as they come across the start-finish line. 20 laps to go here at Iowa. Demerit still stuck behind that lap traffic. What's he going to do as his teammate continues to close? The gap now 1/4 of a second. A 2-time Indy 500 race winner, the back-to-back champion on the iRacing service, wants to take full advantage of the situation. More lap traffic going to be a factor here. Still working that inside groove. If you take a look at this great wide-angle shot as Demerit all the way behind Victor Santos at this point in time. Robin Glennox now, that car stuck on the high line. He might have just gone up into the wall. Here comes that challenge though. Traino. Look at the gap between the two cars as we come down into turn 3. Traino on the inside, Demerit on the outside line. Traino does get some superior momentum through the middle of the corner, but Demerit holds on for now. The question is, how patient is Demerit going to continue being here? Working 17 laps to go. Nate Burke in the PNC Bank car as well going to prove a bit of a factor as Demerit sticks on the high line. Santos down to the inside of Nate Burke. And now Demerit finds himself stuck. Traino to the inside. He makes it 4 wide. What a move from the 2-time champion. He puts himself into the race lead. And that is an intent. A championship intent. Here comes Christopher Demerit, though, back to the outside line. Can he get around Nate Burke as Traino to the inside? Traino holds on. What an opportunity Traino spotted. And he took full advantage of the situation there. Take a look at this one more time. Insane stuff. Traino sees the opportunity, throws it to the inside. Side by side, across the line, down into turn 1 and 2. Demerit still tries to run the outside line, finds some momentum as Burke feeds Traino the dirty air. And my, oh my. This is reminiscent, not an oval race, yes I know. But the move that got me into racing in the first place. Mika Häkkinen, Michael Schumacher, Spa 2000. Down the Camel Straight, they split lap traffic, and Schumacher unable to defend from Mika Häkkinen, and my oh my, 4 wide for a second there. Traino into the race lead as we get close to 11 laps to go. Going to be hard, you'd think, now for Demerit to close this gap back, but never say never with an Indy 500 race winner like Christopher Demerit as well. I am in utter disbelief at what I just saw. So astonished that we're going on board here to take a look as Traino has the C's part in front of him, finds that opportunity, and you'll see here he does manage to, for the moment, cover off from Demerit. We'll try and find the right camera angle there. But what an opportunity he saw, and he took it with both hands. So here we go in towards turn 3. Demerit very committed to that high line. And absolutely amazing stuff from your defending Indy 500 race winner on the iRacing service. It is a bit hard for me here in the commentary booth, being part of the Powerslide Motorsports team, to remain unbiased, but my oh my, utter joy at seeing a move like that. That is what racing is about, and they work their way through more lap traffic now as Demerit still holds on to Brandon Traino. Don't count him out just yet. 6 laps to go as we cross the start-finish line this time around. Lap traffic might prove to be a very crucial factor as they both are committing all the way down to the inside this time around. Be interesting to talk to them after the race, maybe see if they're working slightly different setups and in-car adjustments, but across the line for 5 to go this time around. Did we just see the move of the season? That was, if you want to dethrone Adam Blocker, you want to dethrone Powerslide Motorsport, I guess what? You need moves like that to do that. So Traino then across the line, 4 laps to go this time around. Gap now up to 7/10 of a second. As he's got nice clean air in front of him. His teammate in his mirrors tries to close on up. And 3 laps to go then for Brandon Traino. Of course, the championship standings that we showed you at the start of today's race were slightly misleading in that they showed Adam Blocker out front, but having completed one more race weekend as compared to his competition, Brandon Traino moments away then from retaking the lead in your championship and setting up a very, very exciting 4-race run rather, to crown a new champion on the iRacing service. Across the line we go, white flag waves, 7/10 of a second, still the gap. It's going to be Brandon Traino as we dive down into turn 3. The 2-time back-to-back Indy 500 champion, potentially the move of the year already, and he takes a race win, another race win here on RaceSpotTV. This time though, it's at Iowa, a well-deserved win for Brandon Traino. And I5G, it was a 1-2 finish for Matt Pavelski and Brendan Lichtenberg. It was a race of what if, but for Traino and Demerit, victorious today, and Traino will get ready to do some more burnouts as Demerit does his own celebration, showing off the new damage model, I do believe. So while 2-time celebrates, let's go ahead and take a look at your final race results. Brandon Traino for Team I5G with the Apex Racing team takes the win by just over 8/10 of a second from Christopher Demerit and Broken Arrow, with Chris Wilhite coming home in 3rd. Valuable championship points in his fight for 3rd in the championship, the last car as well on the lead lap. Christian Macarelli, a very impressive 4th position there, taking full advantage of a very opportunistic caution for him. Vildewallen in 5th, with Henry Bennett, the first of our Powerslide Motorsports representatives, back in 6th. Laura Gerhardt in 7th, with Victor Santos in 8th. Andrew Marquez 9th, and Matt Holloway then completes the top 10, 3 laps down. Working through the rest of the field as well. Nicholas Sudik in the number 9 machine, 3 laps down. Jason Wallet, number 17, in 12th position. Nate Burke in that PNC Bank powered machine comes home 4 laps down with Lance Simon as well. Adrian Pinarino, we saw him involved in some contact early on. He recovers to come home in 15th with Arturo Amro in 16th. Robin Glennox, after an impressive early portion of the race, drops to 7 laps down in 17th position. Greenfield, Lichtenberg, Roos, and Pavelski Burke, the cars that didn't make it to the checkered flag. So, Iowa Speedway. Sorry, Anderson Gutierrez has just confused me in our YouTube chat. It's Iowa Speedway, Anderson, and let's take a look at our series schedule very quickly while we potentially await the likes of Brandon Traino into our comms booth. But Iowa is done. We've got one more short track still to go, that being Richmond in 2 weeks' time. But 2 road races, 2 ovals left before we crown a new champion. Watkins Glen, that's always an entertaining show as we draft our way up the S's in towards the bus stop chicane and the carousel. Sebring International, where of course the real life drivers were testing today. So, I have a feeling lap time is going to be a bit different because they obviously were running on a certain configuration of the track there. But that's going to be an exciting one. Sebring, a staple of IndyCar testing. And what better way to finish off a brand new season on a brand new tire model and a brand new damage model than heading to the Tricky Triangle, Pocono Raceway. A track that I think is going to challenge drivers in the setup philosophy in a way that they haven't been challenged so far yet this season. So that's going to be a great way to wrap things up. That might also be our strongest oval field in the entire season.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead, though. We are being joined for at least one interview today. Brandon Traino, your race winner. And Brandon, I would just like to say, my oh my, what a move to get past your teammate there. Why did you think that was possible, and how did you make it stick, basically?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I just thought back to my karting days. You do the over under and get the momentum off the corner, and which is the way the lap traffic was. It was just like you got to find a hole and you got to go for it, and I just did the over under, and Chris just picked the wrong line there, and it worked out for the best, thankfully. So yeah, it was a pretty impressive move now that I think about it.
Just slightly. I think it was 4 wide for a moment there. Not something I necessarily expected to be saying at Iowa. Championship picture then. Let's talk about that. Obviously, Adam Blocker at Sebring today with the IndyCar paddock. A position I know you're familiar with due to your responsibilities in the NASCAR paddock. But this opens up the championship once again. 4 races still to go, and you should have, if my math is correct, about 100 points over Blocker. What do you think is going to be the most important thing with Watkins Glen, Richmond, Sebring, and Pocono concluding our season? What do you think is going to be crucial for you to be able to prevail over the defending series champion?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think our plan is to just cover Blocker. If I can just finish one position ahead of him in the next 4 weeks, we should be fine, because those next 4 weeks are usually pretty popular tracks, specifically Watkins Glen and Pocono. So those could be 2 races to capitalize on. If he has a mistake or I make a mistake in the next 2 road courses, Pocono could be the deciding factor.
So talk to us a little bit about the year ahead now, because it's our first IndyCar broadcast of RaceSpotTV for the year, and I'm excited. I can't wait for the month of May. I can't wait for the month of November as well, and the Open Wheels 500. What do you think your schedule is going to be like for this entire year? How much are you expecting to be out there on track? Are we going to see you go 3 times at the Brickyard this year, or what's your schedule looking like in terms of your real-life commitments as well?
Yeah, so I will be going for 3 in a row. After this open season ends, Chris and I are going to hit Indy pretty hard, and try to get some speed in the car to start out with, and then just McKelly will come around, and him and I will just grind thousands and thousands of laps, and hopefully we'll come around in May and standing on the top step again.
Well, before I let you go, Brandon, who do you need to thank from the team for an impressive win today?
Yeah, guys at I5G always, and Apex, they've helped out a lot, and our short oval program has never really been our strong suit, but after Gateway, we hit on something, and it was a really well balanced car today in Iowa, so I'm happy.
So that was Brandon Trainer, race winner for the Apex Racing team with Team I5G. Let's move it on to one of his teammates, Christopher Demerit, who was running up in front when a caution came out due to one of his teammates dropping out, but he took full advantage, led the majority of the second half of the race, and unfortunately, Chris, it was just a spectacular move from your teammate that put him into the race lead. When you were coming up on that traffic, were you feeling a bit concerned about putting yourself in a position like that where you might get boxed in?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely always a possibility, especially when the fact that I was pretty much fuel saving the entire race, and I needed to hit a fuel number for that second half of the race, so I needed to balance getting through the traffic quickly and fuel saving. So I knew that was going to be tough. Yeah, that particular line was pretty bad, but that's just how Iowa traffic goes, really. So can't be too mad about it. I knew it was going to be a risk that way anyway.
Impressive qualifying. You got the pole position. How much work have you guys been putting in this season? Because obviously an impressive run for Trano to be, out front quite handily at this point in the season, but I think it shows that you had, I think it was the top 3 contenders in qualifying, and then Pavelski was in, I think it was 5th. So it shows a lot that you've worked on these short track cars, and that's really going to benefit you, not just as we work towards Richmond in a couple of weeks' time, but across of all of the different series that you guys compete in as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Trano's really been on it since this new build came out, and then the car got shaken up a little bit, and I mean, he's the one putting in a ton of work into our sets. Not to say that other people aren't, but it's, Trano's doing a lot more testing than anyone else is. So really, credit goes to him, really. And yeah, I mean, Indy Elite and the Open Series here, and it just kind of builds upon itself too. So it's a good thing long term to have all these sets, because we have good bases for the rest of the tracks that we're going to, and then we can iterate on it later, so we have a better starting point. It just adds on itself. So huge shout out to Trano there.
Ask you a question. Which of the 4 races coming up is your favorite? Watkins Glen, Richmond, Sebring, or Pocono? Because they're 4 very different types of racetracks and races as well. I think they're going to be very fun to watch from up here in the booth.
It's easy for me. I gotta go with Pocono. I'm not a strong road racer, so those 2 are out immediately. And then it's between Richmond and Pocono, and I think Richmond will be kind of like Iowa was, except a lot more concentrated on the bottom, which is probably going to be very, very stressful. And I've always really liked Pocono, so I gotta go with Pocono. Looking forward to that one.
All right, well, we'll see you then in a week's time, hopefully from Watkins Glen. Chris, and congrats on 2nd.
Thank you.
So that was Christopher Demerit for Team I5G with the Apex Racing team. And we got one more person standing by, and I've got plenty of time. I was expecting maybe a bit more of a caution fest, but fortunately, the race flew by. And Brendan Lichtenberg, unfortunate result for you there. You were the unfortunate cause of one of our cautions today, and I think lap traffic really was just a really big factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like Al Jr. and the rest of the field, Emerson Fittipaldi, like is the 89 500. It was pretty wild. It made for a fun race. My incident was what it was. It's the tight racing here is just gonna produce that.
Well, talk to us a bit about this type of racing as well, because I love this type of racing. It's all about finding clean air, finding momentum, and I really think that what we saw in a much warmer track than the last time we came here with the older tire model was some really interesting racing, and I think it bodes well, given what we've seen so far, for this year as an IndyCar community, especially as we build up to our most important race of the year, the Indy 500, I really think we might have a very interesting race dynamic this time around.
I agree, yeah. I think the last tire model short tracks are kind of everyone's fear because it's just kind of aero push city. And you still feel the aero push, so it's not, you still have to think when you drive. You can't just throw it into a corner. But there's enough aero push, but not too much to make for really good racing. And yeah, lines need to be optimal, but it's pretty close to how the cars are going to react in real life in terms of the line versus aero push, where now you can drive that bottom line and be behind another car and not get the death aero push that we would used to get. So I'm pretty excited for how these are going to play out going forward.
Well, before we let you go, Brendan, anyone you want to not really thank, but shout out from the team, because we've had two of your teammates so far. It was a very strong showing from the entire team so far, so I'm sure there's more people behind the scenes that you guys have to shout out.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, just want to thank Brandon first of all. He's really been putting in the work, and he helped me get up to speed, and Chris. Matt was doing great too. Unfortunately, he had an incident, but other than that, I just want to say hi to my dad and my grandma who are watching. Sorry I couldn't make it, but hope they enjoyed it.
Well, hopefully they're still watching now. Maybe I would have sent them a message telling them to tune off, but I don't know. They got to see one of the greatest moves I think we're going to see all year. I'm going to call it right now. I think what we saw from Trainer was spectacular. So, not sure if you saw that move, but yeah, it was amazing.
That was fantastic. I did see it. I was on the edge of my seat.
All right, thanks, Brendan. Hopefully we'll see you then in 1 week's time for next time.
Yeah.
So that was Brendan Lichtenbergen. 3 i5G drivers in our post-race interviews. I think they were hoping for all 3 steps on the podium. Before we say goodbye, let's take a look at our race results one final time. Brandon Trainer takes the win by 0.8 of a second from his teammate Christopher Demerit. Chris Wilhite, in his championship battle with Brendan Lichtenberg, secures a very important 3rd position. Lichtenberg finishing down in 19th position. That will be a bit of a disappointment there. But with 4 races still to go, you heard Demerit talking about Pocono being one of his favorite racetracks. I have a feeling we're going to see the i5G team showing up very strong for that final race of the season. Let's take a look at the schedule one final time before we say goodbye, because 8 rounds done, 4 races to go before we crown a champion, and it's looking like, for the first time in several years, it might be a non-Powerslide Motorsports driver. And as much as it pains me to say that, it's also very exciting about the fights that we have in store once Adam Blocker returns from his duties with the IndyCar paddock next time at Watkins Glen on a Monday evening. Bit disappointed to have also missed races at Long Beach and Mount Panorama, 2 very unique race tracks, and indeed races where Blocker took home important championship wins in his quest to defend his title. But nevertheless, Brandon Trainer, with a very impressive move, retakes the championship lead, and with 4 races to go, Trainer is in the driver's seat. For the entire team at RaceSpotTV, thank you for tuning in, and don't go anywhere. We've got more action on a Monday evening coming up in a few hours' time. You can follow us for more sim racing action across our social medias: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram, all at RaceSpotTV. And if you want to communicate just a bit more with us, you can head on over to Discord, where we're getting a bit of a revamp and communicating even more with you guys. But for myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you for tuning in to continued coverage of the IndyCar iRacing series on RaceSpotTV. We'll be back in 1 week's time from Watkins Glen for a very interesting race. We'll see you then. Enjoy.